This next playlist we're going to look at negative numbers, and a lot of people struggle with negative numbers because most of their education so far has probably been treating 0 as your lowest number. Where actually 0 is your middle number, and you go all the way up for positive numbers and then down with negative numbers. Now I've got this number line, and normally your number lines would be like this, where you've got going to the right is positive and to the left is negative. But I like to think of it more like up and down. It's more logical to the way most people will deal with negatives. And it's obvious that going down would be negative and going up is positive. A bit like in a lift. And that's kind of the way I teach it. So, for example, if we think of the number 3 minus 5, well, I start on the third floor and then going down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is minus 2. Another way to think about it is I'm 3 meters above some water. I go down 5. Where am I? Well, I'm 2 meters below the water. So therefore I'm negative. And that's again another way to think about it. Is you can imagine you've got this submarine, which is also a helicopter, and you can go up and down just like a special gadget machine helicopter submarine. Now, let's have a go at something like minus 3 minus 4. So I'm 3 meters below water. I go down another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm at minus 7. And let's go for minus 9 plus 6. So we're at minus 9. So 9 meters below the water and going up 6. So we're going nearer the surface. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equals minus 3. So the 3 examples. Let's do 2 more quickly. Let's go for 6 minus 9. So I'm 6 meters above water and then going down 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Minus 3. And let's go for minus 5 plus 3. So I'm 5 meters below water and going up 3. 1, 2, 3 equals minus 2. There's a couple of things which I've done here. I've chosen ones which are actually the same sum, just in different way round of writing it. So here and here, minus 9 plus 6 is the same as 6 minus 9. Or 3 minus 5 is the same as minus 5 plus 3. They're both exactly the same. Now, when we look at trying to figure out what the heck we've got to do, because we might not have a number line, or you might have a number which is really quite big. If, for example, we've got here 3 minus 5, or actually we could use that as a plus. So our plus 3 minus 5. Well, a plus and a minus are opposite or different to each other. So effectively, when we got the opposite signs, we can take away one from the other. So you can do 5 minus 3 is 2. Or here they're opposite, so 9 minus 6 is 3. And you always have to do the biggest number minus the smallest number. So 9 minus 6 is 3. But obviously I'm covering up here the negative symbols. And they might not necessarily be negatives. But if the signs are opposite, the value of the number, the 3, the 2, all of them would be smaller. Here, our symbols are the same. So when our symbols are the same, we're actually adding our numbers together. So there's this little thing of if you've got a plus and a minus, that equals a takeaway. But if I've got a minus minus, that's a plus. And that would be the same with multiplying as well, and we'll look at multiplying in a little bit. But then the thing we have to think about is, are we above or below water? So for example, this one, I start at 3 meters above water, I go down 5. Now if you start at 3, we go down 5, we're underwater. Or if I'm 9 meters below water and I'm going up 6, I'm no longer at the surface. I haven't got out of the water yet. So you work out your value, and then you can work out whether it's positive or negatives, or you can do it the other way around. So let's look at something like, let's go for minus 9 minus 7. So minus 9 minus 7, well, we're 9 meters below water, we go down another 7. So we're still definitely underwater. So then we can work out it's negative. We then go, okay, what about our signs? Well, our signs are the same, and therefore we add our numbers. So then we could basically have 9 plus 7, and 9 plus 7 is 16. So minus 9 minus 7 is minus 16. And it's useful that we can do this without having to do number line, because this number line is not big enough. So it'd have to go all the way down and keep going somewhere around about here. Let's put that back on the screen there as well. Sliding it across. Useful to think about. What about minus 13 plus 8? Well, I'm 30 meters below water. I've gone up 8. So I'm still underwater. So you can put a negative. Then our signs are different. And so because our signs are different, we then take away our one number from the other. So 13 minus 8. So we ignore, once we figured out whether it's above or below water, we ignore what these symbols in the middle say, kind of. We just do 13 minus 8 is 5. So minus 13 plus 8 is minus 5. Now, all these answers so far pretty much have been negative, but they don't have to be. So you could have minus 6 plus 10. So I'm 6 meters below water. I'm going up 10. And therefore I'm above the surface of the water. But how far? Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to do 10 minus our 6. Our biggest number minus our smallest number. So 10 minus 6 is 4. And officially we are above water. We could put a plus, but we don't bother. So we don't bother putting a plus because we know it's positive. If we haven't got a negative, we know it's positive. So with our negatives, is a bit of a, we have to put the negative if it is a negative. But if it's a positive, we don't have to bother. For example, if I go 25 minus 20, I don't put a plus there, do I? I don't need to put a plus there, because that's a bit, well, we know it's positive. So we just do 25 minus 20. And again, actually, our signs are different, so our number gets smaller. But are we below water or above water? Well, 25 meters above water, we go down 20, we're still above water, and we're 5. So 25 minus 20 is 5, and we're still positive. So let's have a look. I've got a new sheet of paper now because I've run out of page. At ones where it's not just a single digit and might have to do some calculations and write down adding and subtracting columns. So we could have 37 minus 59, for example. So 37 minus 59, well, we're 37 meters above water, we go down 59. So we are below water. Or we are negative. We then have to think about, okay, I know it's negative, But what do I have to do? Well, this is officially a plus, and that's a minus, or positive and negative, so our signs are different. So we have to do one of the numbers, take away the other. And we always do our biggest number minus the smallest number, 37, because you can't do it the other way around. So we do 9 minus 7 is 2, 5 minus 3 is 2, and we'd already worked out that we are below water, or it's negative, and therefore we have to go minus 22. Now what about something like minus 57 minus 36? Well, these two symbols are the same. However, we're still underwater, or still negative. So we've got minus 57 meters underwater, and then we go down another 36. So we're still underwater, or still negative, but we have to add our numbers together because the signs are the same. So you've got 57 and 36. 7 plus 6. Effectively, we're adding our numbers together. So 7 plus 6 is 13. And then 5 plus 3 is 8, plus our 1 is a 9. So minus 57 minus 36 is minus 93. And if you ever get confused, just think, okay, am I above water? Am I below water? Am I going nearer the surface? Or am I going further down? And that's easy, that's a way to get yourself to think about it. Okay, let's have a quick look at two more, and then we'll look at multiplying. So we've got something like minus 17 minus 24. Well, minus 17 minus 24, are the signs the same? Yes. So we then just add our numbers. But what about where are we? Well, minus and a minus. Well, minus and a minus, that means we are underwater still. So we're 17 meters below water. We go down another 24, so we're still underwater. We're still negative. But our numbers, we add. So we go 17 and 24. We then put our equals in. 7 plus 4 is 11. 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus our extra 1 is 4. Now, what about, let's do one last example of, let's go minus 68 plus 104. So, we're 68 meters below water. We're going up 104. We're above water, where we are now. So, we know we're positive, so we can sometimes put a plus in there to make sure we know we're going positive. And then what do? Well, our signs are different, so therefore we have to take away our numbers. And again, we go for our biggest number, 104 minus 68. Okay, so 4 minus 8, we can't do. So we've got to take one off here, but we can't do that either. So we take 1 off the 1, turns the 1 into a 0, puts 1 up there. Take a 1 off the 10, turns that into a 9, put 1 up there. So we've taken our 1 off the 1, turns it into a 0, puts it here. Makes that a 10. We take 1 off the 10, turns it into a 9, and puts it here. So then you get 14, and 14 minus 8 is 6. We've got 9 minus 6 is 3. So minus 68 plus 104 is 36. And we don't need this negative, so we can ignore that negative. So minus 68 plus 104 is 36. So let's look at multiplication. And I'm just going to quickly change the page over. So let's look at multiplication. And with our last one, we had 2 pluses, makes a plus. a plus and a minus is a minus, and then we have a minus minus is a plus. So for example, we could have 3 times minus 4. Now, we could do our number line. So if I get my number line, and I got 3 lots of minus 4. So we've got 1 lot, which gets us to minus 4, then to minus 8, and then minus 12. So 3 times minus 4 is minus 12. And again, but say we didn't have our number line. And what we do is we kind of first of all figure out, are we positive or negative? So we've got a positive and a negative, and the way I like to think about it is we think about sherbet, or think about positive, negative, or couples. There's lots of ways to think about it. But if I've got a single negative, then that's obviously just negative. But if I put another negative on that, it becomes a positive. And I should have done something a bit smaller. Often I do pens, but again, this is a bit, I need to zoom out to make it better. Actually, I'm going to quickly zoom out now. There we go. So I quickly zoomed out, and we've got our 2 negatives make a plus. But 3 negatives is a minus, and then our 4th negative makes a plus again. And really, you've got to think about, it's negatives are happy when they're in couples. So, we've all got those friends who are a bit sort of moany or a bit cryy, and on their own, they're unhappy. But you get 2 negative people together, they become happy. But if you put a third one in the mix, well, 3 people doesn't make a good couple. A 4th, though, and they're all happy. And then a 5th, well, you don't want a 5th one, because then that's negative again. So if you've got an even number, or 2, 4, 6, 8, or 10 negatives, then that means they're happy. But if you've got an odd number of negatives, which could just be 1, or could be 3, or could be 5 negatives, and we'll look at a couple of examples of this, or 7 or 9, or however many odd number of negatives, then it's still negative, it's unhappy. You can think of it being happy is positive, unhappy is negative, and you have to have pairs to be happy. So then let's zoom back in a little bit. So we zoom back in, and let's go for something like minus 3 times minus 6. So here we've got 2 negatives, and that's an even number of negatives, and therefore it's happy, or it's positive. So now we know it's positive, we almost just ignore the negatives. I'm going to just go 3 times 6. And 3 times 6 is 18. But what about if we had, say, minus 2 times minus 3 times minus 4? Well, here we've got 1, 2, 3 negative numbers, and therefore it doesn't like that. It's not very happy. So therefore it's negative. So now we've figured out it's negative, we ignore our negative symbols. We just go 2 times 3 times 4. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 4 is 24. So our answer to minus 2 times minus 3 times minus 4 is minus 24. And again, the same thing works with divisions. So let's move it up. Get our number line now out of the way. And let's go for something like 10 divided by minus 2. Well, is it happy or unhappy? Well, there's only a single negative, and single negative people are just negative and unhappy. So it's minus. But then we just do 10 divided by 2. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 10 divided by minus 2 is minus 5. Let's do one last example. Let's go for minus 30 divided by minus 6. Well, we've got a minus and a minus, which is a plus. So then we just ignore the negatives and we go 30 divided by 6 is 5. So the most important thing, even with the adding, if we've got the signs are the same or we've got two negatives, we then add the value of the number, or we add in terms of multiplication or it's positive. If the signs are different or we have an odd number of negatives with our multiplication or division, then we take away one from the other. So you can think of a plus equals a plus minus is a minus plus is a minus, and a minus minus is a plus. And that's often what people get taught. Where you got two positives is a positive and negative is a negative positive is also a negative, because they've got different numbers of positive and negatives, or you've got an odd number of negatives there. And then a minus is a plus. So that works for both multiplication and division, and it also works for adding and subtracting, because if we multiply positive by negative, our value is negative. If we do one number minus the other number, we are effectively taking away. So our value takes away. Have a go at the next few questions in this playlist then.